there's a process that I think is really timely and relevant. Um, this process is also in the library, and it's called sales follow-up. It's right here. So I'm in Getting the Business, and if you go here to the library again, you can find this called sales follow-up. You scroll down to the S section, and then you can download it. I'm going to select this process. So this may seem like it's obvious to people, but it's really not. Sales follow-up, I believe, really can make a huge difference in your conversion rate. So whether you're doing counter sales or consultative sales or estimated sales, whatever your version of this is, sales follow-up is an important aspect in making sure that you're getting the most from your leads and the most from your sales. Oftentimes, the sales process is done, and then salespeople, because they kind of are chasing the carrot all the time, want to go on to the next hottest prospect, and they forget the advantage of following up continuously and diligently. This is just some statistics on sales follow-up that are just meant to kind of give you some motivation. You can see from this progression, and this stuff's all over the internet from a lot of credible sources. This is just one picture that we found, but you'll find this in a lot of different websites, and analysis and research studies prove the same thing. So this gives a progression of what the impact of follow-up could be. So 2% of sales are made in the first contact, 3% after the second, 5% after the third, 10% after the fourth, 80% after the fifth to 12th. Now, I think that you need to decide what the number of touches needs to be for your own situation. It's somewhere between 4 and 7 touches. So that can be a phone call, it can be an email, it can be a letter. Email follow-up is a great way to do follow-up, and you can automate these email follow-ups as well. It's always nice when it's personal, but you can automate it. This is how, like, people saying no, and how salespeople give up. But this is what I like the most about this one. Why 8% of salespeople get 80% of the sales? It's because of the follow-up. I've also put in these 3 bullet points, which I think are very instructive as well. Continuous training gives 50% higher net sales per employee. Average company spends $10,000 to $15,000 hiring an individual, but only $2,000 a year in sales training. Takes 10 months or more for a new sales rep to be fully productive. What these 3 bullet points are doing is it's making the case for documenting a sales follow-up process. If you have a process, then you're going to be able to train people more effectively. You're going to be able to capitalize on, this statistic here and make it work for you. It's going to take less than 10 months for you to fully train a new sales rep and have them be effective. You're going to change this statistic down here where 8% of your salespeople get 80% of the sales. This is because there's no sales process. There's no sales training. So follow-up is, the sales process should come first, obviously, but then follow-up is right on the heels of that and being the most important part of your sales. So inside of this process, you're going to find just a lot of ideas. There's numerous documents down here which give techniques for follow-up. There's this work plan here just starting at the top that says after the sales follow-up. So these are some tips and techniques, and what you're meant to do is go in and edit this and make it your own. So this is an example of a library process. We're just throwing you a lot of great information, and you're meant to go into this and start constructing your own sales follow-up process. People are doing follow-up. Your 8% of your salespeople are that get 80% of the results. So sit and talk to the best salespeople you have, or yourself if you're the one doing it, and start to create a work plan, a step-by-step for what your version of good follow-up would be. So get a commitment for the follow-up. This is a really great technique. So I'm going to call you at this date and time. Can we set an appointment for that? So again, these are just, tips and techniques that you can use when you're constructing your own work plan for after a sales presentation follow-up. Long-term follow-up. So sending emails, making phone calls. So if you have a CRM, this is easier than it would be if you don't, because you can automate emails, but make sure those emails are personal. I would say have your salespeople do personal emails and try that at least 5 times before they give up and you go into an automated sequence. There's some scripting here. This is after the sales follow-up script. So this is like some good techniques and what to say and how to say things to keep that follow-up going. And then long-term follow-up. So same idea. Follow-up right after the sale presentation has happened, and then this is the long-term. So we break this into 2 sections, right away and then what the long-term is. Checking in with people. Hey, I was thinking about you, and what did you decide on X, Y, and Z? Or sharing ideas and insights. Raising the free line, this is also called. Give information. Continue to educate. Talk to them about things that aren't necessary about buy my product, but related to that. Continue to educate. Then there are all of these documents down here that you can glance through. So this is, right after you leave a voicemail message, follow up with an email. When they haven't opened your email, tips on what to do. So look through these and just pull together ideas. There's a custom form here for sales follow-up. Those of you who have a CRM don't need this, obviously, but if you don't have a CRM and you've got people on spreadsheets and sticky notes and, jotting to themselves about, when to follow up, do something like this before you would do that. So right on the dashboard, your salespeople can come and put prospect information, goals of the call, goals of the prospect, ways to help fulfill those goals, objections they came up with, responses to those objections. So this just allows that salesperson to keep as much information as possible about what happened during the sales process so they can then access that information when they go to follow up.